Sometimes with sweet potatoes, you're a little bit late getting started, or you just want to try some new varieties. One of the other options, if you're not growing your own, or if you want to branch out like we are this year and try some new varieties, is to source some sweet potatoes from somewhere that's reputable. Guten Yardening, everybody. Last season we grew 7 different varieties of sweet potatoes, and I have to say we enjoyed every single step along the way in the process of growing and of course harvesting. From my perspective, we had a pretty successful season, growing just over 200 pounds of sweet potatoes in a variety of growing styles. And this year we're going to try to do much the same, except that we want to expand out even from those varieties. So we want to source a few new varieties, and in our case we have done the work to try to prepare. We grew slips from each of the varieties of sweet potatoes in a couple of different ways, and if you saw some of our videos over the winter growing months where we talked about the best ways perhaps to prepare your slips or to grow slips from your sweet potatoes, then you'll know what I'm talking about. But here we have some of the slips that we cut off just about a week ago, and you can see the roots on these are popping out. These are ready to go, ready to get in the ground now that the weather has officially warmed up. And believe me when I say the 90-degree+ Fahrenheit weather that we're supposed to have for the next week has definitely warmed up our entire area, and we're ready to get these in the ground. And so while we have plenty of slips from the varieties that we grew last year, we want to continue to expand our horizons and try some new varieties. So if you find yourself in our position where you have plenty of slips but you want to expand what you're growing, this video should be useful to you. If you're somebody who's brand new to growing sweet potatoes, never tried it before, this video should also be useful to you, because you don't actually have to have these ready to go if you want to grow sweet potatoes. Depending on when you're getting started, there are a couple of different options. If you're earlier in the season, we found success in buying organic sweet potatoes and allowing them to sprout and growing slips from them. But if you're late getting started, there are other options that would still enable you to plant sweet potatoes yet this season. Now we're here in June in Zone 5, Wisconsin, which is the perfect time to get these out in the ground. Now that the soil has warmed up, you got to remember, sweet potatoes love that warm soil. So you want to give them as much of that nice warm soil as possible for as long as possible. So if you're here right now and you don't have anything started, the other alternative that we've found success with is sourcing them from a few places that we've used online before, and they've grown successfully. The 2 places that we've used before are Stark Brothers and George's Plant Farm. Now, one of the cool things about going to any of these places is that you're going to open up the possibilities in terms of the varieties that you might find locally. Now, that doesn't mean that you should try to grow every single variety that you see online. There are usually descriptions as to what you should expect in terms of the look, in terms of the flavor, in terms of the amount of time it's going to take for that sweet potato to grow. And some varieties are definitely more well suited to different growing zones. Some are better at handling some of the cooler weather, some definitely take a shorter amount of time, etc. But if you can look into these websites just like we've done in the past, you can find varieties that will be a great fit for what you're trying to grow. And this year is no exception. This year we went with George's Plant Farm, and I believe the package has just arrived. We've purchased sweet potato slips from George's Plant Farm in the past, and I'll show you what we do once they arrive, so you can see some new varieties that we're planning to grow this year. Now, once you've found a place that you can trust, ordering online can be a huge benefit, especially in terms of variety and if you're a little bit behind in trying to prepare what you want to grow. Now, when you order online, you want to make sure that as soon as the slips come, you have the ability to get them into some water. This is super important. As you can see, they've been in the mail not too long, probably a couple of days, and yet you can see what they look like right now. They look a little wilted, a little rough for the wear, so we have to get it in water. And you can see we just ordered 3 varieties of sweet potatoes, and I'll show you what all 3 of those are first. But in the box, there should be, hopefully, a little slip of paper. It tells you everything you need to know and everything you need to do in order to prepare your slips for going in the ground. And you'll even notice at the top that there's a little message there for you that says, when you open it, we may look pale, we may look brown, but we're just fine. It's just that we've been in this dark box and you need to get us planted as soon as possible. Now, we're not going to be able to plant these today. It's a little too late in the evening. So what I want to do, I've got a couple of jars here filled about halfway, maybe 2/3 of the way with water. And I'm going to remove the rubber band from all of these varieties and I'm going to get them in the water. There's some paper surrounding these. It's always wrapped like this, some newspaper, etc. All I'm going to do is I'm going to take them out of this paper, just like so. I'm going to take them out of this paper, so I don't need the paper on there right now. Coming out of the nodes, I'll show you what the roots look like. So you can see there's nothing coming out of the upper nodes, but they're ready to go. These little tiny roots. So if you think back to what our roots look like on the ones we've grown at home and how big and how healthy they are, then that might make you think about why it's so important to also grow your own at home. But I'm going to get these into the water, just like so. Just so the roots are in the water. I don't want to bury anything else in here. But we've got the roots in the water once this is straightened out. And I'm going to do that for all 3 varieties. Now, before I briefly talk about our new varieties here, this is the Okinawan, and you can see that there aren't actually any roots on these slips. But a couple of days in water, and what we have here at the nodes, they're going to pop right out and be ready to go. And here we are, 3 brand new to us varieties, the Carolina Ruby, the Centennial, and the Okinawan Sweet Potato. Each of these beautiful in their own way. The Carolina Ruby is a nice red colored skin and it is a beautiful orange inside. The Centennial is a nice deep orange both outside and inside. And the Okinawan, which I am exceptionally excited about, has kind of an off-white tannish skin and a beautiful purple inside. So 3 brand new to us varieties, and we're going to be able to tell just how well these are going to perform in our area in terms of growth. And I gotta say, I'm always excited to try new varieties. Well, it's only been 2 days since these were delivered and we put them in water, and I can tell you they're already starting to form even more of those beautiful roots that we're expecting as we put them in the ground. And we do have a ton of work to do to get these all in the ground, but I wanted to show you this as well. The Okinawan variety that didn't have much of anything on here at all in terms of roots, well, it's already got its own roots coming out as well. That's one of the keys here, is finding a reputable place to source your sweet potatoes. That's why we're recommending only the places that we've used successfully before. Stark Brothers and George's Plant Farm. I am confident there are plenty of other places out there for you, but it's not too late to go ahead and get started. And I promise you, sweet potatoes are so worth the time, of the space allocation, and the effort that goes into them, because the end result is a product that is fantastically healthy, amazing tasting, and can go in so many different recipes. We've got a lot of planting ahead of us. This is probably about 1/5 of what we're going to be putting in the ground. So stay with us as we have a ton of videos coming your way, all about our amazing sweet potatoes and the harvest and the growing that's still to come. We hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful, and if you did, don't forget to give us a like, leave us a comment, remember to share and subscribe, and most importantly, remember, when you're with us, you are good to grow.